Is the EV wave dead? Now, personally, I don't think it's dead, but I think it's really slowing down. I mean, you can see it in global sales. The EV sales are down. And honestly, I think it's because the technology, it hasn't caught up as quickly as we thought. And that's why we're seeing a dip now. Because all the people who bought the EVs up until now, I think they were mostly early adopter mindsets. They were willing to try it out and take all the negatives that come along with it. But the people who didn't buy the EVs up until now, they were waiting for the technology to develop, because let's face it, there's some serious issues with EVs right now in terms of range and charging speeds at affordable prices. Now, most of the cars don't have that much range. They're averaging at 300 miles or something, and the charging takes a lot of time, and the charging network's small and not accurate, since a lot of them are broken. And so people are waiting for that, all that to change. They were waiting for budget cars to come along, which give at least 350, 400 miles of range, or 500 kilometers. They were expecting those cars to come, at least in the expensive segment. Now, the budget segment, they could have probably been okay with 300 miles or 400 kilometers or something. But that hasn't come yet. No, battery technology hasn't come along as well quickly as we thought, and that's a serious issue. So that's why we're not seeing that many sales anymore. And another problem with the EVs is the batteries do degrade over time. No matter how long they last, you're gonna have to replace them at some point, and at this point, the batteries cost a lot. The batteries cost about half the money of the car, and regular people aren't gonna be willing to pay that much to replace a battery years down the line, and replace an older version of battery when there's probably going to be a newer version of the battery that's superior and cheaper, but they cannot access it because they have an older car. It seems like a really raw deal. So yeah, so that's a big factor too. The costs haven't come down, the technology hasn't advanced as much, the charging networks hasn't increased as much, or has gotten faster, and the home chargers are still pretty low power. You need half a day to charge it up. So yeah, that's a lot of issues with the EVs nowadays. And as far as I know, there doesn't seem to be anything on the horizon about the tech changing or evolving. I mean, we are saying BYD come out with cars with a good amount of range, but even their batteries aren't cheap. They're a little better, but they're not cheap either. And you don't see any new kind of technology, a new battery chemistry coming out where you can pack a small battery with a lot of range or something. I mean, you see some of that in phones, but as far as cars go, there's nothing at all anyone's talking about. And the chargers, honestly, all the chargers need to be quick, really fast chargers that charge up to can charge the car in 5 minutes. And you know, it's been half a decade since the EV craze went off, and you don't see anything yet. It's basically still the same, and some manufacturers are just starting to roll out their EVs, and the ones that started earlier, they're just sitting on it. You haven't seen any real growth in the sector for a while now, and now people are becoming skeptical. They're not sure if it's going to come or not, how long it's going to take to come, and they're honestly thinking of reverting back to ICE engines, or at least hybrids. Now, hybrids seem to be kicking off. It seems to be a viable solution that they can keep the benefits of the petrol engine and can keep the cost relatively low, since it's hybrid engines get a lot of mileage, and hybrids seems to be really picking up. Especially with the Japanese, they're obsessed with hybrids. They don't really seem to care that much about electric cars. They're only making them because they're mandatory. But yeah, we seem to be seeing a shift, and unless EV And then unless these basic problems with the EVs is changed quickly, you're not going to be seeing a lot more EVs. And plus, EVs are expensive. They're really more expensive than the gas-powered cars. And considering that we're half a decade into EVs and the prices still haven't gone down, that's another problem for customers. In the beginning, sure, they wouldn't accept it, but now EVs are still more expensive than their gas-powered counterparts, even the same versions of the cars. And that's another sticking point, because people don't want to spend that much money on a car which has this many issues. So yeah, that's why I think the EV trend is slowly going down. It's not dead. It's gonna pick back up, but it's gonna take some time.